I'm doing good. How you doing?
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
I hope you have a good day.
Hope you have a better week.
I hope your month is full of successful days and a lot of great ventures. I hope you just come up, brother.
I hope your whole fucking year is spectacular.
Oh, you hope my year is spectacular?
Yeah.
You got something you want to say to me?
You got something you want to say?
Tournament is over, but we're going to continue on through. And my question to you is, for your first day of school, what were your fits looking like? Were you a hip-hop head, so you were like Cameron, decked out in all pink, fully equipped with the pink umbrella? Were you more of an 80s metal head, really big, frizzy hair? Or were you the head in the clouds type, rocking to Elton John, full-on, multicolored sunglasses? Or were you the emo kid, the bangs switching back and forth across your head in 394 different ways?
Turn to page 394.
Or were sports more your thing? So you had the black and white stripes, Yankee style across your chest? Or did none of that ever matter to you because you were too worried every day that your glasses would break over and over and over again? That's the riddle for next episode. If you think you know what the list is for next time. What up, family? It's your boy Amaru, and we are back with another episode of One Gotta Stays One Geek Tournament. We're getting pretty far through this thing. We're in our fourth matchup. Last week we had our sci-fi episode where one Miss Ellen Ripley and Marty McFly, by the skin of his teeth, moved on for the first of the two wild cards. But now's one I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for this for a minute. We're heading on to Wizarding World, where my illustrious panel can only save one Wizarding World character, and we all knew it was going to be Harry Potter characters, not Wizarding World, because nobody was picking Newt. Jacob might have been there though.
Hey, no Newt slander. Newt slander.
It's gonna start. But between Hagrid, Hermione, Luna, Snape, Sirius, and Harry, who would we save? And already the chat is really just already saying what we must do. But let's see what happens.
I'm not sorry.
Yeah, no, not at all. Gonna go over here to the man who fights me for nicest man in the Schmodown in all the world and everything he does. My brother clicked a comic book short. All of a sudden, I heard his illustrious voice and texted me like, wait a second, is that who I think it is? Yes, it is, Mr. Jacoby Bancroft. Jacoby, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that introduction. I'm always is that me echoing? It might be echoing.
Yeah, I hear nothing, so you're good.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm excited. I'm happy to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun. I like talking about Harry Potter. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. This should be, yeah. This is a hard one. This was the hardest one that I kind of had to pick on that I've ever been on your show before. So this is going to be fun. Yep.
Last time I gave you law, so you know what you were keeping. So this time I wanted to make it a little tougher for you.
Yeah.
Next to him, we had one of the POVers on a couple episodes ago. But when I said Harry Potter, I literally was like, "There's no way these two are not going to be on." So much so, when this lady told me she couldn't make it, I pushed the episode like, "No, she's going to be on." Miss Jillian Marie. Jillian Marie, how are you doing? Glad to have you.
I'm good. Thank you for having me again. I'm excited to yell at people and share my thoughts. And you know how I get when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I'm really glad we were able to schedule. I'm so busy. Like, I have like so many weddings that people just need to stop getting married for like the next like 2 years. Like, no one's allowed to get married anymore because I have like so many. So I've been super busy. So thank you for rescheduling it so I can be here and yell at people. I appreciate it.
Go to the courthouse. It's worth it. I promise.
There you go. There we go.
Below Jill, the other half of a certain point of view who I have on today, fellow track coach, Mr. Brian.
Yes, sir.
Molesino, Brian Scooch, whatever you want to go by. I just usually call him Brian.
That's fine.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to see some arguments because I feel like we are very dedicated to this, and I have a feeling we are going to be all over the place. So I'm very excited to see how this goes.
We are going to see how this goes. Next to him, another one I immediately was like, yo, I gotta have him on. He hasn't been on yet. He's got the shirt. I wonder if it will come off before the end of this.
Asking the real question.
I'm on number 1. I'm gonna be okay. All right.
The spider, Mr. Robert Parker. First question, which one of us is going to get that belt first? Second question, how are you doing today?
That's a coin flip. I don't know, because I don't know what all the paths are looking like. So hopefully both this year. But yeah, no, thanks for having me. Brian alluded to it. I think this may be a passionate night. I think we'll be okay. But yeah, I'm really excited to be on. This is something that this kind of thing I'm really, really into. And also that's way too bright. So while you're introducing the last panelist, I'm going to go close that.
No problem at all. Speaking of the last panelist, last but certainly not least, she did have a belt. She's hoping to get another belt. If you don't know what I'm talking about, most of you do. You watch this Schmodown, movie trivia at its finest. Lady Justice herself, Miss Marisol McKee,
Hello,
the other ambiguous Black person on this stream. So I love it. Let's
Hell
go.
yeah!
How are you doing?
Hashtag what are you? Like I get it on time. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm so thrilled. I could think of no better way to spend my evening than talking some hardcore Harry Potter with hardcore Harry Potter geeks. So unlike Jill, I don't have many friends, so I have a lot of free time in the evenings to do this kind of thing.
I don't have any friends, I promise you. Like, no. They all just happen to be getting married at the same time.
Touche. So I'm ready for it.
A lot of those.
I just appreciate that the bottom row is all in their Harry Potter shirts, and the top row.
Yeah, some of us were prepared for this. Like,
this is my visitor's badge. I'm going to the Ministry of Magic. Don't do that.
Okay.
I just feel like y'all follow up all the time. I had to switch it up just
Hogwarts is in Boston, isn't it? Isn't that
perfect.
where it's located? Okay. That's where it's at.
This is Sean's tank top.
Well.
It's hot, and I wanted to wear a tank top. Sorry.
It is. It is. I suck at this, so yes. New channel for One Gotta Stay. So if you haven't, please subscribe to Bitesize Breakdown. We're adding a whole bunch of stuff aside from the show. Graciously allowed me to move over to this one. But you know what? Enough of that. Let's get to it. Let's go. Robert.
Yes. Oh, good. I'm glad we're starting with me.
Let's go. Come on, Parker.
Number 4. Who do you
my
have
number
out?
1B, of course, number 1 is the one you save, right? So then number 4.
Number 1 is one you save.
Cool.
Yes.
So
yes,
my number 4 is Sirius. So we have an interesting group here. Jacoby's already discussed it. I'm sure it'll only get better from here. I love Sirius as a character, but I think he really does get outshone in a lot of his biggest moments. That's not true. I think he has a lot of big moments, but I do think that he has there are other characters who play the sort of relationships that he has better. Like, I think Lupin is a way better father figure to Harry than Sirius is. Part of it is just because Sirius is on the run and, he can't be there all the time. But I think that there's a lot of other characters who sort of have that in Harry's life, as far as, what Sirius is really there just to be a connection for Harry to his father and to, be that father figure. And I think there's a lot of characters who do it better, including some characters on this list who do it better than Sirius does. I think that Sirius, I love Gary Oldman's performance as Sirius. I just think that he just doesn't have as much to do as some of the other characters. I think a lot of these other characters are in the series either longer or have a bigger impact on the story as a whole. I don't like the way that he goes out. I think his death is one of the most underwhelming of the series, always has been for me. So yeah, that's why Sirius is my number 4.
But Gary Oldman.
I love Gary Oldman, and I love the performance. I really do love the performance. I also just I think it's super weird how Harry has known him for 45 minutes, and he's like, "Hey, come live with me," and Harry's like, yeah, dude, let's do it.
Let's go, man.
That is so strange to me. That moment has always been just very strange to me. So maybe that maybe just that little piece really works for me. But that brings him down a couple pegs.
That hurts. Do we rebuttal? Do we go into
do what
this?
you want? Do what you want. Go ahead.
That was some inflammatory shit right there. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
You say everyone doesn't have everyone. There's a lot of other characters who have these relationships with Harry, but the relationship between Sirius and Harry Potter, I think, is one of the is the best example of a war-torn father figure who's damaged and who wants to be a fighter, and Harry who looks up to him and be like, yeah, I can be like you. I can be a fighter. I can do all the things you do. The scene in Order of the Phoenix when they're sitting there and Harry's like, I want to fight, and Sirius is like, oh, heck yeah, like he's good. It's like the single greatest, it's like the top 5 best scenes in the Harry Potter franchise, because I love that relationship. I love what they do there, and I think you should put more respect on Sirius's name for everything he does. He's not just a run-of-your-mill father figure. He's very important.
I did not expect you to come out so hot out of all of us. Oh man, I love it.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't expecting it either.
No, I'm with Jacoby on that. I feel a lot of sympathy for Sirius because he doesn't, because I'm fascinated by Sirius by what he, not because of what he accomplishes, but what is holding him back from doing that. He's trying his best, and he's one of the saddest characters, I think, in the whole series, because he doesn't have the chance to do all the things he want to do. He turns into a dog, for God's sake, because all he wants to do is just love and be loyal to the people around him. And he's like a dad in jail who just wants to be a dad to his kid, but he can't get home to him. Like, he can't do it, and that is heartbreaking. And he just wants to love, and you can't hold that against Sirius. That's not his fault. He stopped like maturing. Like, he's just so stuck. He loved Harry's dad so much that he is just stuck. He like Harry, is somebody who had no happiness at home, like had no joy in his home life and his childhood, and found love and acceptance from the friends that he makes at school, at Hogwarts. That is like a direct parallel to Harry. Like, his friends are his life force. And so much so that when everything still went terrible in his life, when he lost all his friends and everybody died and he got sent to jail because everybody died, he still had nothing in his life but the love of the people around him, and that was keeping him going in life. Like, love was the only thing keeping Sirius going.
Well,
in his
not
life.
just love, he also embraces violence and is ready to murder one of his best friends. So there's also
in
that.
the name of love. Sure, but right? Love makes you do crazy things.
I don't know about all of that is true. All of that is true. But Robert mentioned it. You take all that and you get Lupin, and you get a much better figure. The fact that Lupin didn't make this list, people, I'm mad at y'all for that.
Yeah, I don't know why he was not.
Sirius is also my number 4.
Let's go. Let's go.
Also my number 4 for those same reasons. Does anybody else have him at number 4 as well?
No, so, he was my number 6.
Jill, you're not supposed to say it yet.
Wait, so you're not allowed to judge me. All right, I'm defending Sirius, but you're also not allowed to judge me because Sirius is also my number 4. So you're not allowed to judge me.
No.
Okay, wait.
What?
No.
All that to still have him at 4?
You don't get to judge me. All right, I'm in a dark place. It was very complicated. This was a very difficult list to make.
This
I was
is
under
a very
lot of
difficult
pressure.
list. Yeah.
And these are a lot of characters who have like they're even in a lot of ways. All right,
Yeah.
all right, leave me alone.
Yeah, it's really hard to rank these.
So Jill spilled her beans. Should I spill mine then?
No.
Try not to everyone
Okay.
like talking about how Sirius had you could have had the entire series without Sirius.
No, you could not.
Yes, you could.
I think that's a little.
Yes, you could have. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing that Sirius was used for. Sirius was used for a torture device for Harry because they're like, your parents are dead. Hey, so's your godfather. That's what he was used for. And then the only thing from the third book, the Time Turner, where he's a big part of, you never freaking see the Time Turner again until Cursed Child.
That's not Sirius's fault.
It's not Sirius's fault, but out of all of these characters, all the other characters had more things going on with the Sirius. So no, Sirius was sorry. I like Sirius. I do like Sirius, but he was sorry.
Jacoby has some fans. Look, for me, I love Sirius to death. He's great. But he's also just
very poor choice of words.
Lupin went through the same stuff, and he is so much more irresponsible. And you can have those irresponsible people, but there's some points where you're like, dude, dog, come on. Even in the movie, they made it believable for him to call him James during that fight. And I was like, I don't remember that from the book, but that's something totally he would do. Not thinking about Harry, thinking about what he had. Again, Justice for Lupin on this one, because that man went
Justice
through
for
the same stuff.
Lupin.
Lupin is such a safe choice. Like he's just like.
Why was he not on this list?
Sometimes the safe choice is the right choice, Jacoby.
Yes, he's not on the list. But you know what? Jill apparently had a lot to say about Sirius. Well, what do you have to say about your number 4?
My number 4 was Harry Potter himself.
So is mine.
Okay, good. Okay.
Good.
So, because for my list, I was going over like character quality and how I feel like their story should have gone, how they were reflected in like the entire Harry Potter series. And to be completely honest, I think a lot of people in Harry's life did more for the like entire plot of Harry Potter than Harry Potter himself did. I think he was just kind of like thrown into this and like he was just like there. And I kind of personally would have rather seen the prophecy go to Neville. Yeah, so I think Neville being the main character of the story would have been a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. I do love me some sassy Harry Potter in the books, though. Like, they really didn't give him that much sassiness in the movies, but sassy Harry Potter in the books is a treat. But I think there's more people in Harry's life who did more for the overall plot point than Harry did.
It doesn't help that Harry's kind of an idiot.
Harry's kind of a dumbass.
Kind of?
Yeah.
But I am the chosen one.
He is an idiot. And when you say sass, you mean whining in the entire first half of Order of the Phoenix? Brian, why do you have Harry at number 4?
I mean, is it horrible to say he's one note?
No.
He's very like, I mean, we get it. At the point, like, we get it. You're the chosen one at this point. Like, okay, cool. Like, even by like 6, he's just kind of like, just going through the rhythm. What's gonna happen this year? Like, okay, it's this time that now I have to take on Voldemort, and it's just kind of like, okay, great. Like, but his supporting cast is what makes him so good.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Anybody else have Harry at number 4? No. Robert, go on ahead, man.
I was just going to say one real quick thing about Harry. I actually do think I do think he's a good character. I think he's a very good vessel for the audience because I think he is one of the best like characters, at least in the last 30 years, as far as like the true hero's journey, the journey from absolute weakness to absolute strength, from being the parentless kid under the stairs who's abused to being the chosen one. Like his journey is actually really, really interesting, and seeing the world through his eyes is what makes the story so fun, especially at the beginning. Being introduced to this world of magic and awe and wonder, like he is I think really good. I think he's a very good vessel for the audience. That being said, I think this is probably a pretty fair placing for him, just because I think the other characters are better. But I think I don't think he's one note. I do think, especially as the movies and the books go on, in like 5 especially, I think there's actually a lot of like layers and interesting things, and especially in 7, especially in the book of 7, there's so much in his internal monologue that I think is some of the most interesting, like philosophical, food for thought things in the whole series. So I do think he is like still a good character. It's just he's up against some of the best in the series. So,
and to be fair to Harry, just like Harry is always like, he's even acknowledged that that's part of how JK wrote him in the books. Like he knows he's not, like he comes to grips with like the fact that like he's like, wow, I'm really not that special. And like you're saying, Jill, the whole thing with Neville, like the whole thing with Neville getting introduced in like the 11th hour there, Harry's like, well, shit. I mean, I guess I'm really not that special. I guess I'm really not, which I think is a really bold and brave move to do for like your protagonist of the series. And I don't think it's like a slight against it. I think it's kind of the strength of the series, that even and realistic and kind of more endearing in the sense that like even your hero, your protagonist in the story, just because they are, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy about everything that happens with Harry in the books. That just because it is written, and he's supposed to be special, it's not really how life works out. And like it's all about like a lot of the people, some of the most important players, key figures, are not necessarily, the golden boys and the chosen ones, which it's all kind of self-fulfilling. But I agree with everybody about like it's it's not as slight. It's just where else can you not put Harry rather than not at the top of the list of like the best characters in the series? It is what it is.
True, very true. With that, we'll keep it moving. Mr. Bancroft.
All right.
Probably.
My number 4. My number 4. This was actually really tough to do. I would say my 3 and my 4 were the ones that like flip-flopped, I would say, the most of this. But for my number 4, and this one hurt the most, I think, to put this character this low, but I put Luna Lovegood at number 4. And that was really tough for me because I think Luna is a fantastic character. I love her relationships with other people. I love what she represents. I love her character by herself of just how she is and the dynamic she brings to everything around her. I love how she's a Ravenclaw, but it's like not your typical Ravenclaw. She's like one of the prime examples of the house, of the stereotypes of the house not really applying to a lot of the characters of what you would normally expect. And her just relationship with the group, she was a late addition, right, to the series as a whole, and she was the one character I'm like, man, I wish she was in it from the beginning, because I just think she would have been great. I'm saying all these good things about Luna, and that's why I'm so sad about putting her at number 4, but probably because she wasn't in it probably all the way around for as much as she could have been, that I had to place her here. But I love Luna. This one hurt.
That's a fair sentiment, I think. Like, it's, if she were in it longer, I feel like I kind of the same boat as Jacoby. If she were in it for the whole run, I'd probably have different feelings. But I adore Luna. I love her so freaking much. And there's a reason why her, her spectacles, those glasses, are such a prominent image in Harry Potter. As soon as you see those, you go, freaking Luna Lovegood, because she's a standout character just on her own. Her personality is so good. She's so quirky and weird, and she's really unlike any other character that we see in the books. And like, we all know, everyone has a Luna in their life. Like, everyone has that one weirdo friend that we just love and embrace, and I love that she's so proud of who she is. But I agree with Jacoby's sentiment that if she were in it longer, I think I would have different feelings. But I freaking adore Luna. She's
so like. Go ahead, Jacoby. Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, she's so quirky and lovable and has such these funny moments, but then she's also can represent the complete other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I love the when Harry sees the Threstrals for the first time, and like, and she's the one who explains why we can see them now. That's just such like, oh, that is such a, you're this bubbly, kind
even
of
with your tragic backstory.
Yeah, with the backstory. It's like you have an understanding of death that a lot of people do not. And it shows in her how she presents herself to the world. I just think it's
exactly. You for these a mild heart attack if you want to go back and see me jump.
Coming at you for these takes.
Literally turned it on right there.
My goodness. That was, I will say, that was the surprise pick. I usually try to throw like really random picks when I do 4. But so when Luna popped up on the poll, like as one of the top, I was like, I love this. Yes, it definitely. I know it probably hurt you, Jacoby, but you were the only one who had a 4, so I guess it didn't hurt as much as everybody else. But we'll see. We'll see where we're at now. Me, Marisol, and Robert all got rid of Sirius at number 4. Brian and Jill got rid of Harry. We also know another person Jill got rid of, but that's okay. And then Jacoby got rid of Luna. So you know what, Brian, keep it going. Brian, keep it going at number 3.
Yeah, number 3 is my Luna. Also, so
me too.
I mean,
me too.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, there you go.
Oh wow.
And Andrew, we had number 3.
Yes. Jacoby hit it directly on the head by saying she was the character that we were like, damn, I wish we had more time with. Like, she is one of those ones where you forget that she hasn't been there since the beginning. Like, she literally fits in so well with every single one of those characters that you're just like, what? When did she first appear? And then you're like, she wasn't there from the beginning? So, yeah. And I mean, her like one-liners that just send you like laughing. You're just like, what is she talking about? And yeah, it's just, she's fantastic. And literally, like, this ditz basically saved them during the Battle of Hogwarts. Like, I mean, without her, they aren't finding that crown. Yeah, so, I mean, it shows how her importance, because she is smart. She may seem like your space cadet airhead, but she is not. She is smart as a whip, and you see that in many of times, especially at the end of that movie.
Yeah. She's also a huge Elton John fan, apparently. Because those glasses go.
Yep.
But again, I am with Jacoby. This was probably, I've done a lot of these episodes. I've done a lot of these shows, and this might be one of the picks that is like the most like, come on. No, I have to put you here because there's no way you're above the other two. But just y'all said it. Luna is a G. Is just 100% up and down. Just that one friend that you, no matter what, always says what you need to say. I think she's at 3 because of time. It really has to be because of time. Jill, Robert, what about you two?
Yeah, she probably would have been. While Jacoby struggled putting her at 4, I struggled putting her at 3 because if we had more time with her, she honestly probably would have been my 1 or 2. If we had seen her from the beginning, she would have probably been my number 1 or 2. But like I said, she's just I absolutely adore Luna, and I was sad I couldn't put her higher up on the list, but based on the characters that we received, I was pretty comfortable putting her in at number 3.
Robert?
Yeah, I am echoing the same thing that everyone else has said. Wish I had more time with her, but also like I think that she is another really good avatar for the audience in that even when things are at their lowest, even when things are at like their most dire, she still chooses positivity, and that's something that's really, really like hard. Like
she gets punched in the nose and is bleeding, and the first thing she does is laugh about it. Like she's just like
I love the way that she chooses. Like even with like her trying to get all her stuff back at the end of 5. Like I think her outlook on life is really inspiring, and just the choices she makes to choose to stay positive instead of to like succumbing to all the negativity around her, I think is really, really good. I love the Thestral scene, Jacoby, like you mentioned. I think that's an amazing scene. I also I love her morality. Like there's a lot of characters who ride the line between, not just rule breaking, but, are they doing the right thing, that kind of stuff. And there's a line from Crimes of Grindelwald that I'm going to butcher, but it's basically Dumbledore talking to Newt about I admire you because you ask, is this thing the right thing to do? And then if it is, you do it. And that's Luna. Like she just does what is right all the time. And that's super aspirational. And I love her as a character, but I just have a closer to connection to the other 2 above that I put above her.
Yeah. We love you, Luna.
I think she also be a good representation. I think she's also one of those characters that she could belong in any of the houses.
Yeah.
She can literally fall into any of those houses. So.
And if Slytherin kicked her out, we would all just gang up on them and tell them to kick rocks.
Kick rocks.
Luna, we love you, but we also had to say kick rocks. Jacoby, what about you, sir? Your number 3.
My number 3 was Harry. I put Harry at my number 3. It was the tough one between those 2. We discussed Harry very in depth about what makes him, and I echo all those. And the only thing I'll really add to the Harry at the number 3 is just I really love how dumb Harry, not even dumb, but how
he's dumb.
The setup for those, he is kind of dumb, but like for those first few movies of just like he's always like, hey, what's this? And everyone's like, you don't know what this is? And he's like, nah, I don't. Like, what's happening? Is this bad? Is this good?
I was raised by muggles. What do you want from me?
I literally have no frame of reference to everything. And I think the one thing that the scene in the books, I guess, that always stuck out about Harry that I like really liked about him. It's just like he's so. And I don't know if the series really played into it as much as they should have, but it's like how rich he is. Sure, he's famous, but he's also tremendously rich, and like how he doesn't really know what to do with it because he doesn't know how any of what this does. He can't use any of the wealth. He kind of feels bad by it. Like the scene that I really like in the book is when he feels so bad when he's traveling with the Weasleys that he's trying to like block his vault because he doesn't want like them to see because he's so. He's going from this extreme mode of poverty to where he's at, and he just doesn't really know what to do with that. And then that, along with everything everybody said about Harry, he's the main character. We had to follow him for 7 books. I had to put him kind of high. So yeah, Harry has his moments.
Marisol, you're the only one left. did you agree with him and have Harry at number 3, or do you have somebody else?
I do have somebody else at number 3. I do, and he's pretty big. He's pretty large. He's the elephant in the room, as it were. He's pretty hard to ignore. My number 3 is definitely Hagrid.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
I mean, you guys, I kept quiet. I gave you guys your moment with Luna. You don't want to hear my Luna talk. I can read the room.
That's what we're here for. Don't hold back.
Spill the tea, girl. Spill the tea.
I'll save it. Look, I'll save it when we talk about our 5s and 6. No, don't, Matt. I'm right there with you. She's sweet, but everybody else on this list is more central and integral to the bigger picture in this series. But Hagrid is my number 3. It's really hard to know where to begin with Hagrid. I mean, he's so clueless. But
in the best way possible.
But in the sweetest, the most endearing way possible.
Damn.
I've got look. That's he wears him on his sleeve. He is. God damn it! I don't even know. I really don't know where to begin with Hagrid. Hagrid is number 3. J.K. writes a lot of the characters leading with a lot of like virtues are really big with a lot of her characters. That means like the story is the kids get categorized the second they get into the school. Like her story structure and her character structure is just really big on like people having like definitive qualities, and kind of everything trickles down from there. And Hagrid is so pure. There's like not even a bad bone in his body. He's just such a force. He's such a titanic force of I keep describing everybody like a Labrador, but Hagrid really is like he really is like a 8 foot. He really is like an 8 foot. Yeah, he almost like a danger to himself and people around him. So he's like almost like he's sweet to a fault, where without his awareness, he ends up kind of causing trouble in a lot more situations than he intends to, which kind of makes you want to just shake him like sometimes. But I can't think of anybody who maybe loves Harry more than Hagrid in this whole series. I'm like including everybody. Like Harry has a lot of like father figures and people guiding him. People taking him under his wing at various points, guiding them because they do care about him. They see him want to do well, but nobody just pure, like unadulterated, just adores and would die for Harry, I think, more than Hagrid in the series. And I'm not going to put him higher than 3. I'm sorry, but because Hagrid needs a little bit more backbone in certain situations. He can. I think
plenty of backbone in that astronomy tower fight in book 5. Plenty of backbone there, for sure. For sure. But Hagrid is one of the funniest consistently from book 1. Hagrid was the consistently funniest, one of the most consistent characters in the series, and the most consistently funny characters in the entire series. Some of the best comedy in the whole series comes from Hagrid. And you guys can talk about him more. I really do love Hagrid. He's not at the top of my list, but Hagrid, nobody cared more than Hagrid in this whole series. Mm-hmm. Nobody had a bigger heart than Hagrid, probably literally because of how big he is. But yeah, he deserves at least to be near the top.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely does. But we're gonna just go ahead and kind of get straight to it. Quick recap though. We each have 4 left. 2 of them are in our bottom 2. 2 of them are in our top 2. I have Hermione, Hagrid, Snape, and Harry left. Marisol has Hermione, Snape, Harry, and Luna, though we know which one of those is at the bottom.
Spoilers.
Brian, Jill, and Jacoby all have Hermione, Hagrid, Snape, and Sirius, while Robert doesn't have Sirius, has Harry, and then Hermione, Hagrid, and Snape. Seems to be a bit of a theme. So before I get into our bottom 2, Again, I said I suck at this before, so just making sure. Bitesize Breakdown YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Hit that like button. We do a bunch of reviews on bitesizebreakdown.com. Follow us on IG and all that. We do a lot of good things over there. So please help us out. Go follow. But now, getting into the weeds, I'm gonna quickly go over our bottom two. So for me,
my favorite thing is when you share your screen, the top left, the channel sticker covers your actual face.
Yes, it's great. I love it every time. It just becomes an avatar.
It's my favorite.
So for me, 5 and 6 were pretty easy because really, screw Snape and everything he stands for. Everything, absolutely. I can't stand that man. But I'll get more into that maybe later. We'll see. Marisol, on top of having Luna, also has Harry at 5.
Yeah.
So
I like the idea.
I stand by what I said.
I love like the kind of like sly Harry slander that we have like in this right now. Like I dig it. Like does anyone have Harry like in their top 3? Like that's what I want to know.
About to find out.
We're about to find out. Does anyone actually?
Jill,
have
you
Harry
are the
in their
worst
top
at
3?
this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to answer, but like, does anyone actually have Harry in their top 3?
Brian somehow has the most pure-hearted person in the entire thing in the bottom 2 with Hagrid.
What?
Which is crazy.
Brian.
Sure.
I mean, okay.
And then Sirius.
I'll
Go
finish.
ahead, Brian. You can say your
Yeah,
piece for a little
explain
bit.
yourself, Brian.
Sirius is in it for 3 books.
And he makes the biggest impact.
Nobody's disagreeing with you on the serious stuff.
I know.
Guy.
I know.
I am.
Yeah.
Hagrid, though, I don't care.
Hagrid, though, explain
Hagrid
your
is
reasoning.
tough luck.
I need sources. I need
He is-
reasoning.
I have this. He was my hardest place, I will say, out of all of them, because Marisol said it on the nose. After a certain point, him doing the same thing over and over, you're just like, okay, like cool. Like he does the same stupid mistakes like over and over again, and it's constantly like like he's constantly doing something that someone has to fix. It almost feels like. I will give you, obviously, he's one of the most pure-hearted characters in the whole entire thing, but like, I like my other ones way higher than him. Honestly, Harry and Hagrid could switch back and forth for 4 and 5 for me.
Same reasons.
Yeah. Harry, obviously, just because he's the main character.
Yeah. Next, Robert also doesn't like Harry.
Yes,
Yeah, right
the Harry
on
slander.
No, it's not a Harry slander. I
hates
talked
Snape
about how
as
much I
well.
love the character. It's just all the others are way better. Yeah, Snape is definitely the worst on this list, though. Not even close.
Jill agrees. Thank you
Yeah.
for this Snape slander, because that man is just
Snape terrorizes an 11-year-old because he had a crush once. It's real bad.
I mean,
It's real bad.
Yeah, and Jacoby also had. Come on, man.
I agree with you, Brian. And Marisol, you had some great points about Hagrid that made me rethink it. Like it was just like, yeah, I guess no one does love Harry more than him. And I think that is really pure. That doesn't change the fact that, as you said, he's bad at things. He should not do the things that you said. Like it's funny that it's like you need to shake him sometimes, be like, don't do those things, but he keeps doing them. He should not be in a position to be around students because someone is going to be an issue. I feel like Hagrid can't keep a secret to save his life, even when it's very important that he keeps a secret. So I had to put Hagrid low, and Snape sucks. Snape just sucks.
Well, there are a couple people who don't agree with you because going into our number ones, 2 people saved Snape. 2 people saved Hermione. 1 person saved Sirius. I'll give you 2 guesses who that is. And 1 person saved Hagrid. And with that, I would just like to say, Robert, you can help me out later. This is my time to say why Snape is the most trash-ass character in the entirety of this fucking thing.
Only
This
reason you did this show so you
dude
could
is
just
a
have your
stalker. This is the only reason I did this. The dude is a stalker. He couldn't get over rejection. He terrorizes children. And even at the end, when he could have made up the fact that, after all this time, you actually have some liking for this child who's gone through all these things. No, I'm still in love with his dead mama after AI stepping over his dad's dead body. Fuck this dude. Snape can take lots. Hermione is the best. Let's go.
Here's my thing with Snape. I agree completely that Snape is also trash and that what he did to terrorize these little baby children was horrific. However, I think we can all agree that James Potter was a huge douchebag.
Sure.
He is a bad guy. Almost.
I agree with that.
I think we can all agree that James Potter was a
bully.
bully and an asshole. So like
So the logical thing is to take it out on his child.
I'm not saying.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that. I'm just. It's not.
I'm
what I'm
here
saying.
for Jill's point. No, I think I know where you're going, Jill.
I'm just saying that I don't blame the guy for being like, you look exactly like your daddy, who was a piece of shit to me growing up. So I can understand the grudge being there.
This
but
dude's like 40 years old.
I understand.
No, but it's the sins of the father trickling down.
Exactly.
And like here's where we are now because of the actions of the
Isn't
father.
the whole thing that the sins of the father like shouldn't be taken out on the son? I think that's like the whole.
Harry is also not the best character either. He's also kind of a douchebag.
No, he's cockiness and asshole. It's also not an adult's job.
No, which I agree. Snape definitely should not have attacked these children to the level that he did.
That's the only thing as a teacher that I can connect to just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But like I get it. But like he was still my number. Like he was at like my number 5. So like he's still trash. But like I get it. But
every friend that I have who teaches children wishes they could just smack them upside the head.
Correct.
Oh, you know how many times I wish I could just take a book, like in that scene where they're taking the owls and just whack. Like,
yeah.
Oh.
And I would like to say to every parent,
You don't do that because you're a good person and a good teacher.
Yes. Every parent out
But
there.
guess what? This is fantasy world, and they can get away with that. So,
every parent out there in the last 11 years who has given me permission, but I've never followed through. Thank you so much.
I love those parents.
I agree with all your point about. I think Snape is trash, but I also hate his structure in the story. I hate having to spend like however long we do of just like, you know, is Snape a bad guy? It's like, no, he's not a bad. Is Snape a bad guy? In every book, no, he's not a bad guy. Even when he kills Dumbledore, you kind of know it's just like, well, there's something up here. Like
something's going on.
There's something up here. So for it to go so long to be like, I think Snape's this not good person for like the whole course of the series. I was like, I know he kind of is not, but it's like I hate that plot element, that plot line for 5 or 6 movies.
Yes.
I
do think
now I'd like to thank everybody for just coming to my show to slander Snape and do nothing else ever. I appreciate it so much. No, just kidding. Robert, go ahead.
Real quick. The last thing on Snape, I do think he's a very tragic character, and I do have a lot of empathy for what he went through in school. I'm not saying that at all. I do think that he used that empathy to fuel like a lot of really evil and hurtful and spiteful things, and I think that's very, very wrong. And I think the story and a lot of people who really support that character do a lot of justification and say, oh, well, you know, he went through a lot of shit. And it's like, yeah, he did, but like so did a lot of other characters, and they didn't turn out to be like malicious assholes. Like that's my thing about Snape. I recognize the tragedy, but I also hate the justification.
Yeah.
Brian and Marisol,
this man is the second most important character in this whole entire franchise next to Harry Potter.
You're not wrong.
I know. He's literally handedly saves Harry's ass so many times. Like, how many times did Harry almost die and he saved him? A good handful. I can think of at least 2, right? Just off the top
That's
of my
not
head.
a handful. That's 2.
Hey, it's been a while since I read the book. There could be a lot more. But, I mean, this man is, after all of the hatred of Harry's father, is still like, and I get it, yeah, he did it for the mom, but like he could still be that bitter and just be like, no, F that family. But he went and saved this kid countless times. I mean, when he was the leader of the Slytherins, who was just this house of a-holes. And
let's be nice here. Right?
During the books, they are pretty bad.
I'm just saying, not all Slytherins. That's all I'm saying.
I'm Slytherin proud, and I don't associate.
Yeah, let's go, Mary.
Yes, Slytherins and Hufflepuffs are best friends.
I know, but I'm saying, look at the movie. The movies portrayed them all pretty much as bad guys.
Slughorn was cool.
Yeah, I like
Slytherin
when
was an
everyone
idiot.
they do portray them as bad guys. I like it when like all three houses whenever there's a big applause at the end, all three houses cheer, but Slytherin never cheers.
Cheers like
Kinda
that.
kill them.
Yeah.
Do you think
Marisol,
they organize that beforehand? Do you think they'll like, okay, Slytherins,
Nobody
we're gonna
cheers.
shut the fuck up.
No
They're gonna
one
say Gryffindor, we're gonna go boo. It's like spread the word. Like,
I would be
Brian-
the one Slithering clapping and be like, I still
like,
like
woo.
everybody. I don't get this. Yeah.
Brian,
Yeah,
everything you said would be correct if you changed Snape's name to Hermione, because she is
Correct.
the second most character
Correct.
behind everybody, because she saves everybody's ass. All
I mean,
also
she's
saves
my-
Harry Potter
all
just
the
about, yeah.
And
She's
this is
my
why
number 2.
that is why
I will
Hermione.
say that.
Hermione
Yes.
was my number 2.
That is why Hermione I saved and had Hagrid at number 2, because not only did she as
And
Peter's
Hagrid
heart
at 2 as well.
as Hagrid, but also just uber intelligent, uber resilient, just wanted to get along with everybody. Probably one of the only characters I can think of that actually has an arc of change, where she is this arrogant, stuck up, just all in your face with everything. And by the end of this entire series, she is the most considerate, most just everything for everybody, is always there, and puts up around shit. So, I mean, come on. I don't
And also
understand
embraces.
how Hermione's the best.
She also embraces a lot of like bullying and negativity and like people shitting on her. She like embraces a lot of those things and turns it into positivity and really like creates armor for herself and finds a really close group of friends and like all the things that Snape doesn't. Like he just festers in all of his negativity and like shame and pride, and like she actually does something positive with it. I'm with you 100%. I think Hermione is by far the best character. I think she, like even if you include all the characters that aren't on this list, I think Hermione is like the standout character of the entire series.
I really struggled with my number 1 and number 2 because Hermione, like without Hermione, Harry would have been dead first year.
Yeah.
Like, and Ron probably too. A lot of people probably would have been dead just their first year.
They would have died a bunch of times.
A bunch of times. Exactly.
To be fair though, every character saves every character all the time. Like we can't go back to that well too many times.
Hermione is the one who saves everybody's ass all the time, every day, all the time. So I had a really hard time. Her and Hagrid were like this with me. I picked Hagrid as my number 1. And the reason why I picked Hagrid as my number 1 is because, like we said at the beginning, #justice for Lupin, #justice for Hagrid, because Harry Potter was like, I'm going to name my children after the bravest people in the world. Snape, okay, but like you forget about the man who literally carried you as a baby and cried having to give you up to your like maternal family because he wanted to like love you and protect you, and he was with you this entire time through your life, and you don't name your children after that man? How dare you, Harry Potter? So I love Hagrid. So that really is what pushed me over for him to be my number 1, because I was like, justice for Hagrid, man. He deserves so much love than what he got in these books. But Hermione was like my very close number 2.
There's no Hogwarts without Hagrid.
There is no Hogwarts without Hagrid.
Oh God!
I can't.
I don't think that's true. I think everything would function perfectly fine.
No.
He left for damn near a whole year, so I think we're
to
fine.
help Harry Potter.
Yeah, well,
Actually, to help Dumbledore, but that's a different. Like,
Hagrid, don't keep your half brother in the woods. Like,
hold on. I have a question for the class. I have a question for the class. Can we all agree that the real villain of Harry Potter was Albus Dumbledore?
Second villain, first, but he's down.
Yeah,
he's down.
If Dumbledore was on this list, he would have been last.
He would have been my number 6. Yeah, cool.
I guess I'm just like a princess of darkness over here because
yes, Queen, just go for it. I've been waiting
with the gray, like these, especially in a series that's full of like I said, such virtues, like such noble characters. Some of my favorite in the series are the fucked up ones.
Bellatrix is one of my favorite characters in the whole series, so I guess
I find the Dumbledore kind of like heel turn in the Harry Potter series one of the most fascinating things in the whole series.
I think
for me,
one of the best things the series does.
I'm so here for it. And that kind of stuff doesn't make me be like, character's trash, fuck them. That kind of stuff makes me be like, oh my god, that character just got even like more exciting for me. Like it's just
The
there
best
are
is that
layers
happens after he dies too. Oh, it's so good.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
I
good.
just
It makes
love
you
that
question authority and everything you do. Oh, it's so fucking good. I'm sorry.
Exactly. That's why and that kind of stuff for me, that kind of stuff outweighs whether like somebody's just a good person or a bad person. What's an interesting character and what's like a great character, and it's more than just like a moral barometer. It's what like actually, just what operates and what real life is, and a lot of the grays, and what really pushes people to change and think about their worlds and changes their understanding of worlds. And Dumbledore is absolutely one of those characters. He represents that like through and through. But he's not on the list, so I'm not going to talk about it too much.
Marisol, you still have a little bit to talk about. We've been slandering the man all night, and Jacoby,
Go off.
Yes, please.
You've been caping for Sirius all night as well. So the two of you go on ahead with your picks as well.
For which one?
Snape.
Marisol, go
Snape
for
and
your
Sirius.
number one. Jacoby for your number one. Whoever wants to go. Marisol, I'll say you because you've had to endure a lot of slander tonight. So
Go off.
back for you, man.
Shut. Like, do I have to do like 2-1, or can I just do 1-2?
Do whatever you want.
Whatever
Okay.
you
All right. I second everything about Hermione. Yes. Hermione is an inspiration to everybody. Like old, young, boy, fish, girl, whatever you are. She's an inspiration to everyone and everything, but especially to young girls. And I just love I get so frustrated with that line where she's like, because she's young, because she's 11, but she like you said, like she grows so much, but in when she's 11 and she's just like, oh, Harry, she's like, books and cleverness, they're more important things like friendship. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, no, look, his ass would have been dead 8 chapters ago if it weren't for you. So you can't be brave if you're dead. So like there are like, let's not like, she doesn't need to sell herself short. I didn't like when she sells her own abilities short just because she's trying to prop up a dude in that moment and make him and stroke his ego, because
fuck Harry Potter.
But all that aside, Hermione is the rock star. She's I agree with what you guys are all saying. She's like the rock star of like almost this whole series. She can do everything. She's Wonder Girl, and she works really hard. The books are 6 feet deep with just like metaphors and analogies and everything, but I just love the mudblood metaphor and everything there for that. It reminds me so much of so many things, like just kind of even just like you can compare that. You can draw parallels with that angle for Hermione with so many things. That even though, yeah, she is super clever and she's such an overachiever and she's the smartest person in the room, she's still an outcast. Like a lot of characters are still outcasts in certain ways, and still has to feel that pressure to prove herself because people tell her that she's not worthy and she's not valuable just because of where she's from or who she originally is or where her family's from. And that makes Hermione's triumphs all throughout the whole series, when you put in that context, even more impactful, makes her even more of a rock star. I do love her. But like I said, because I'm kind of a princess of
She
darkness.
was number 2? Hermione was your number 2 after
Hermione's
all
my
that?
number 2. Hermione's my number 2.
Behind this man.
Behind, why are you mad? Are you mad? You sound mad. Hermione's my number 2 behind my number 1, which is the Prince of Darkness himself, which is Snape.
Wow.
Who is my number 1. He is my number 1 because it is, I feel like I'm talking too much. I want somebody else to talk.
No, I'm right here for it. Go for
it. He's the ultimate tragic hero, and he has so many like almost Batman angles where he just operates in the shadows, and he represents people who do so much and never get any credit for it. And make those kind of ultimate sacrifices in their life. I'm not justifying, just hear me out. I'm just saying some people who are, because some people that go down this path where like a Batman, because of shit that happened in their childhood, they're just so focused. They're just so singular in their goals, and there's kind of no coming back to the surface for them. They're just burrowing into darkness. And you find a task, a goal, something that pushes you forward in life and what keeps you going and keeps you doing shit and you find something that matters, something to hone in on. And I think, bear with me, it's just kind of poetic that love, in whatever kind of form you could say he's like
Stalker.
In stalker,
necrophilia,
incel poster boy, whatever, like he's an ultimate but I still see it as a kind of, I still can play devil's advocate here and be like, look, at least the dude cared about something, and it helped him, it propelled him forward, even though he had dog shit upbringing, he was a miserable fuck, and he still found love was still kind of his savior in his life. The only thing that kind of, in all its forms, in all its twisted little forms, you could say it's obsessive, you could say it's sad, but it's actually kept him, it's so singular, it kept him moving forward and actually making a sacrifice for somebody other than himself, or for something other than himself. Not because he's morally upstanding. Snape's a dickhead, and he's a dickhead through the whole series. He is an asshole, but he's also a product of his environment, and he was never going to be the hero. He was never going to get the glory. He was going to be the guy who crawls to the background and dies, and nobody knows his story except for a couple people, and nobody knows actually the influence that he had on everything, and nobody's going to champion him or care about him or celebrate him except for a very few specific people who understood what was happening. And nobody's gonna ever say this was the epilogue. I don't know about the whole this is the bravest man I've ever known, and I don't know about championing him at the end, but he is one of the absolute most, for me, he's hands down the most fascinating character in the whole series, the most complex character, and a reflection of having to make ugly decisions. And even if you live kind of an ugly life and you have a lot of darkness in you, that even in the blackest of souls, that love is still something. Love is so powerful, which just ties into a lot of the themes of the story. That love is just so powerful that even somebody as black as this person, with so much hate, so much vitriol, so much pain, and just festering and built up in their life, that still pushes them forward to do something worthwhile with their life. And I think that makes Snape just like an ultimate tragic hero, and one of the most and the most fascinating character.
Yeah,
that's my defense of Snape.
That's for sure.
Jacoby,
Fascinating
do you want to go after that?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I will. It's hard to Marisol. You do such a good job of changing my mind a lot of times. That's a good
I know.
point.
The whole time I'm going, you're not wrong.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Wrong.
But I will follow
you
that.
guys are wrong.
By saying the structure of what you're saying is exactly how I applied my number one and my number two, because my number two was Hermione as well. I think Hermione is the best. She's individually the best character. She gets everything done. She's perfect. She's the best. But as on a character level, who I love watching, it's just whenever Hermione shows up, I know she's going to win because she's the best and she's the smartest, and nothing is going to be hard for her because she's the best. I don't like where her story ends. I don't think she should have become Minister of Magic. I always thought she should have wound up head of Hogwarts. I just always thought that made more sense to me. But on terms of just as watchable as a character, she's great because I know she's great. But I tend to everything you said about Snape being a fascinating, complex, tragic character, you apply to the real number one, which is Sirius Black. Sirius Black, you can copy and paste everything you said about someone who had gone through a life of horribleness. He was sent to prison for the murder of all of his friends who he loved more than anything, and had to spend in Azkaban for 13 years, right? But he still retained the soul of the good person that he was, and he came out of it wanting to fight, wanting to be good, wanting to reconnect with Harry. And we saw how that reconnection with Harry was ultimately kind of a lot of his downfall. He was a little obsessed with making Harry like James, trying to get back to what it was beforehand, but because he was trying to relive the childhood, because that's when his life was the best, before he went to jail for 13 years. So he was trying to copy that, and then for him to die tragically out of that for something that could have been avoided, for something that could have been completely just because Harry was an idiot, was just so tragic. And that's, to me, it's why I saved Sirius, because as you say, Snape is the most complex, fascinating character to watch and do. That's why I like Sirius, because he makes mistakes. He's reckless. He's brash. He's all that stuff. And those are the type of characters that I would want to follow more. Hermione, I'm just like, I have no worries that Hermione is always going to be fine, because I know she's going to save the day no matter what. I don't know if Sirius is going to overcome his flaws, overcome his demons that he has within him. And that's why I put him as my number one. So everything you said about Snape, just put over to Sirius.
Every single one of these characters have their own weaknesses, have their own flaws, have their own great aspects to them, except Snape. And but that's what it makes it so hard to do these. And I appreciate you all coming. I always like to end off with a couple of different things. But first, I think it'd be real interesting as I put some of the lists from the chat. Just think about it for a second. What would be one character who would shake up your list? Doesn't mean it would be number one. Doesn't mean it'd be number 6. But if there's a character who's not on the list, who would be a character that would shake it up? So look in the chat as they think about this question. We got Nick. Nick, he saved Sirius as well, and had Snape at the end. Andy had Hermione number 1, but Snape right behind. No love for Luna though. I guess.
Sorry.
We gotta have another episode just to hear Marisol's thoughts on Luna. See just what slander goes on there. Brian agrees with Jill. Hagrid, favorite Hogwarts character, Harry Potter character of all time. And then another lady who's just into the darkness.
Oh wow,
into the darkness. I'll
Dark Queens unite.
Yes, I'll start off. I would like to know, as Robert did, me and Robert had the exact same list. So, yes.
Great minds.
Go. So, I mentioned one character
UIG nerds.
I mentioned one character before. He's absolutely my favorite character in the entire series. But I'm actually going to throw Fantastic Beasts of Love. If Jacob Kowalski somehow made it on this list, he would make me pause. I don't know. I'd be like, I don't know where to put this man because I don't want him to go, but I don't think I can put him up top. I wouldn't want him in the middle. So it'd be really rough. He might have still number 2 for me. I don't know. But Jacob Kowalski is my one that he would shake up my list.
That's a good one.
A lot. We'll go down that way. Marisol, do you have a character who would shake up your list?
I mean, I guess Dumbledore, based on everything I said, I guess Dumbledore would shake up my list because that's just a juicy man. Like, especially when you get more into like his youth and his past, there's just a lot of shit to mine with Dumbledore. And I love that stuff. I guess I'll say Dumbledore. Everybody else is good. There's so many great characters. Like you could, there's so many great characters, but can't really top what we have here. So I guess I would have to.
Get Dobby out of here.
Dobby out of here.
Yeah. Aunt Marge. Yeah, no, not her.
Justice for Winky. Justice for Winky.
Oh, Winky. Winky would have been amazing to see in the movies.
Right.
Yeah. That would have been such a cool character to see. I would murder if there's one movie I would murder. It's quick aside, and then I'll stop. If there's one movie I would murder for an extended edition, a Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson style extended edition, I would murder people for. I'm emphasizing that too much. It would be Goblet of Fire.
Oh,
it would be Goblet of Fire.
Oh, yeah.
Goblet of Fire.
Sphinx. I want the Sphinx.
Please give me that third task.
I want this.
Give me my third
task. You run into the maze and the thing is right there. Like that's all.
Oh my god! I'm just assuming they just ran out of budget by the time they were like, we can't do the Sphinx. Or like we don't have them. Like not ran out of budget, but just like they were just like, we got to wrap the movie up.
Lucius is another good one.
Robert, what about you? If there's one character,
Dumbledore would also be mine, just because he is so complex, and like Dumbledore's core question is, do the ends justify the means? Right? Like I think he's by far I think Dumbledore's by far the most complex, the most interesting character. Like Hermione and Hagrid, I might like more than him, but like as far as which character is the most interesting, I think it's by far Dumbledore. But Marisol already said that, so I have to pull up someone else. And I think that
Dumbledore I'll let you have another one.
No, I did, and then I lost it. So go to Brian, and then I'll remember it. It can't have been that good if I forgot it already.
Brian, what about you?
So I echo Malcolm completely. I was thinking McGonagall, but I was like, do I like McGonagall or do I just love Maggie Smith? And I think it's more I love Maggie Smith. I would take either Lucius or Draco. Would switch up.
Yeah.
Either
Draco is
either of those two. But I would probably go if Draco was there. I would pause.
That's interesting.
Robert, unless you're back, you figured it out yet?
No, I mean we already talked about Lupin a whole ton, and that would that would change the list, but I don't think it's really in that like much of an interesting way because he is just clearly one of the best characters, and it doesn't really. We've already talked about him, so it would shake up your ranking and stuff, but it wouldn't really give you a interesting reason to talk about a new character.
Jill?
I think I was gonna say Lupin too, but I think for me it would be Draco Malfoy. Because I think I can put what Marisol said about Snape with Malfoy, how Malfoy also does have, like, despite him having like this really cushy upbringing, he has a tragic backstory. Really the only reason why he's involved in all this dark arts is because his father is in it and he would be killed if he got out of it. And you can see in all these movies that as he gets older, he does not want any part of this. And he's so complex and tragic. And I think if Draco was on there, he'd probably be my number 2 or number 3.
And Jacoby, what about you, sir?
Yeah, I would pick a character who I hate because I think that would do interesting things to my list. Because I'd pick Umbridge because I actually think Umbridge is the most I think Umbridge is the biggest villain is the best villain of the series overall. I just like everything. I don't like everything she stands for and everything, but it's like I enjoy watching them fight against it, and I love her. Just watching her be bad, and just because she's terrifying and her not.
She's like a more interesting villain than Voldemort in a lot of
ways.
100%.
100% agree with you. I 100% agree. So that's why I think Umbridge is like, I wouldn't save her. If I had to save her from falling off a cliff, I would not do that. No. But if I had to save her for like as a character who's like interesting and who I think adds a lot to the story, I would pick Umbridge.
That is a very good choice.
That's the one that I forgot.
Because there are certain actors and portrayals of characters that like when you watch it, it like makes you angry. Like, and there's only a very few that I can think of. Umbridge being one, and like Joffrey from Game of Thrones, where I'm just like visibly, like when I watch it, like I'm like, God, I hate them so much, and Umbridge is definitely one of them.
Yep,
yeah, for sure. All right, so now we're getting down to it. It is a tournament, so we have to figure out who's moving forward. Going from the fan vote, combining the poll I did about a month ago with the list that were sent to me, the fans did save Hermione number 1. They had Sirius. Sirius is number 2. Sirius is number 2, and Snape as number 3.
I'll take it.
Interesting.
I'll take it.
And the way this works is between the 6 of us and the fan vote, if you get first place vote, you get 5 points. Second place vote, you get 3. Third place vote, you get 1. And the top 2 are moving on. So with that, as we're backing up into this, I don't know what those beepings were, but it sounded like a truck.
Sorry, Sean's making food.
What up, Sean? What up, Sully? So first off, Sirius walked away with 8 points. Hermione ran away.
Jeez.
27.
Damn, girl.
Yeah. Snape got 11.
Oh,
Who's in there?
Okay.
Harry got 1 vote. Luna racked up those third places. She racked up those third places. So as of right now, it's Hermione and Snape. Hagrid.
Let's go.
Hagrid. So with that. the two moving forward in this.
Let's go.
First
Wow.
of two fantasy world brackets is Hagrid and Hermione.
It's my number 1 and number 2.
barely beating out one.
Marisol is distraught.
Marisol's just-
One
I'm so
Marisol.
pissed.
Sorry. This is so close. So
My number
very,
1
very
and
close.
number 2.
Yes. I'd like to thank my panel. It was been a great episode. Arnold the Pygmy Puff with Marisol, Robert, Ryan, Jill, and Jacoby. Thank you all so much for coming on. I had a blast. If you all see any round twos that you see where we're going up against combining the franchises, just let me know. I'd love to have you back on. But before we get all of that, of course, we have to finish with my riddle for the next episode of One Gotta Stay's One Geek Tournament. And for this one, we're going back to where it all started, to boldly go back to the galaxies, to the other side of the galaxy. But really, I've been doing this so long. Sometimes I feel sad for my panelists. I worry so much that I'm worried they're going to yell at me over and over and over again, as if I'm asking them to do something they're not trained to do. But when they get on, their attitudes completely change. It's like they no longer believe in no-win scenarios. The camera hits, and they're giving it all they got. They want to make it so their picks live long and prosper enough to make it straight on till the end of this tournament. So when before they were yelling at me, now if their picks go through, they're seeing nothing but blue skies. And with that, if you think you know what the list is for next week, comment below. Again, thank you for my panel, for Jacoby, for Jill, for Brian, for the Spider Robert, and Marisol McKee. We are out of here.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.